Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from LA quartet Deathchant. The band's new album Waste will be released on the 25th of June via RisingEasy. Waste is the band's sophomore album and the first album on Riding Easy Records. I don't know if I have a problem saying that, Riding Easy Records. You think that would just roll off the tongue. It follows up the band's self-titled debut from 2019.
I've got a million jokes all about shagging, just right to the front of my head, and I'm like, let's get through this review and not ruin it, Duncan.
Too late.
I swear to God.
Waste was recorded live in a rented cabin in the mountains of Big Bear, California. The band said we packed a big-ass van and set up in the living room and kitchen. Lemieux says, tracked it live with overdubs after. The whole album was recorded over 2 separate weekends, engineered by Steve Schroeder, who also recorded the band's 2019 self-titled debut. I'd never heard of these guys before. I hadn't heard the 2019 release, so I wasn't totally sure what to expect from the album. And when I put the album on and Rails kicked in the first track, I was like, oh yeah, okay, kind of 70s, kind of Thin Lizzy retro rock is what we're getting on this, which is fine. I don't mind a bit of 70s rock. But then, as the kind of track went on, although it has like a very retro production, it sounds very organic, it had something kind of contemporary about it as well. As the album went on, I realised it isn't just like a 70s inspired rock album. There was little moments on here I was like, that's very Baroness sounding. There was little kind of moments I was like, oh, that's quite modern, kind of mixed in with that sound. And then other elements as the kind of album was going on, I was getting a bit of a kind of proto metal type thing, that kind of like Randy Holden, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple kind of sound. But it's also mixed with some of these kind of like, almost like a kind of sludge rock meets kind of stoner kind of melodies to it, that gives the album this kind of catchy feel to it. On the kind of first half of the album, there was a track, I think it was the title track actually, it had a very kind of like Motorhead type feel. Like the tempo and the rhythm, the chord choices all felt like kind of late 70s, kind of early 80s Motorhead. But it takes a turn about halfway through, and the tempo and the rhythms go into a more kind of like, as I say, like kind of sludge rock territory. And then they go back to the kind of Motorhead thing to kind of finish it off. Definitely one of the more kind of full-on tracks on the release, but I quite liked that. I liked that they were switching it up with the kind of energy of the album, and they added in some more kind of aggressive tones. But then they would go into something like Plague, which was much more melodic, much more kind of hook-driven. Some of the guitar licks and vocal melodies put me in mind of bands like The Sword, or even Baroness, like I mentioned. And then each time I kind of listened to this, it got under my skin a little bit more. The melodies, for one, definitely did. And the overall kind of rhythm of it, it makes it one of those albums that you can't help but like nod along or tap your foot to as you're listening to it. And even when it goes kind of slightly darker, there's a track called Holy Roller. Even that track where they were using kind of slightly darker chords and stuff, it still had a very kind of like foot stomping rhythm to it. But again, I liked they kept it interesting, like going from something so hooky and melodic into something that's almost kind of like Holy Roller had a kind of almost kind of doomy kind of occult type vibe to it. It wasn't just the same idea, for 30 minutes, just kind of restructured in different ways. Actually, I really enjoyed this. When I got to the end of it, I was like, that was a pretty damn good album, actually. It's one of those ones that I could just stick on again and listen to it for a second time. And it's, as I listened to it more and more, I thought it's actually really well executed. They've clearly been working hard on their songwriting skills. It definitely came across in this album. I went and checked out the 2019 release, and you could hear the difference between that album and this one. You could hear the jump in quality, but definitely in terms of the songwriting. You could tell it's the same band, but this album definitely felt less experimental than the self-titled They found more of a sound on this one, and vocally, I thought Waste was far hookier than the last album. Better production as well, especially on the vocals. The self-titled album that was very kind of drenched in reverb, but I much preferred the sound on this one. I like that it's very kind of retro sounding, but it's nice and organic as well. I enjoyed this. I really did enjoy this more than I thought I was going to. When it first kicked in, I thought I had in my mind how I thought it was going to go, and by the time I got to the end of it, it was different, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the little changes they put through the album. What about you guys, Duncan? What did you make of this?
Oh, this is a total Duncan album. Like literally from opening chord. I see what you're saying about the contemporary bands that you could compare it to, like your Baronesses, your Swords, for sure. But those bands are doing contemporary versions of 70s Sims anyway, so true. I think that's their gift. They are a weird kind of amalgam of lots of different 70s styles, like the early incarnations of those. So when you're talking about that kind of the fuzz, the stoner, the doom, all those Sims originate from that decade anyway. But you are right, I think, and it's more the melodies than it is necessarily anything else in the band. I think the guitar work definitely has that kind of 70s feel. It's aided certainly by the production, but even the chord choices, there's nothing kind of moving too off-piste. It's all staying relatively contained to, this is the kind of decade we want to pay homage to, or certainly as our main inspiration. Melodically speaking, that's where I think they sound a bit more contemporary. I think he has a better range in the mid-range than a lot of singers did at that time. A lot of singers from the 70s had to sing really fucking high, and you're like, all right, that's cool, that's awesome. But he's got a really nice mid-range tone, great use of melodies, hooks are great. I love the production on this. I thought, like, that actually doesn't surprise me when you said that they tracked it live and then like overdubbed some stuff.
Yeah.
Because they sound like a band who jam lots.
Yeah.
And this record sounds like a jamming band's record. So I'm totally down with that. I think it adds swaths of authenticity to what they have here. This is a very, very easy listen, like genuinely a very easy listen, and I mean that with the greatest respect to the band. Had they started going a bit too off to the side and getting a bit too kind of fancy or whatnot, I don't think it would necessarily gel with their sound. But that's not to say that the guitar work isn't impressive. I thought all the songs sound memorable. I thought the melodies sounded memorable. I really like the drum sound, even though the drum sound doesn't have that polish on it that you get with bands, the aforementioned Baroness, where that drum sounds fucking huge. It's not here, but it doesn't need to be here. It kind of aids their sound overall. I thought this was a great listen. I've listened to it 4 times, and will likely go back to it several times this year. The having not heard of them before, not heard the previous one. This is the sort of band you want to go and see play at a small club, and then you want to get drinks with them afterwards. 100%. And more of this. I can't wait. I can't wait to see if they do tour. Hopefully they come across this way. But yeah, I will be now watching Deathchant actively, and you can consider me a fan. So really enjoyed it.
Nice. And Kyle, what did you make of this?
I knew they recorded this live. I've heard it right away. I was just like, yep, that's how you do music. That's how you're meant to do it. So absolute 100%, 100%. Congrats to them, because it comes off great. The energy on this recording is unbelievable because they recorded it live in a cabin in the fucking woods.
You might be recording in the kitchen, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You've got the drummer in the kitchen with that closed off reverb and the rest of the band in the other room.
Fred's right beside you. You can get a little snack in between takes.
I'm exactly on it.
Right. I'm on it.
Yeah.
That's living.
No, it's not next to you. You sit the drummer on the mini fridge. So he just has to reach down. But no, you can hear on this that they're a band that have fun together and they love what they do and they know exactly what they want to do now because their previous album wasn't quite as polished as this one. And the production on this really works as well. It definitely fits the band perfectly. It's not all the way polished, but it's not shit like it was in the 70s either. So it's like, especially the vocal mix was great. Every song is really listenable. Everything is clear. There's really good songwriting. There's really great riffs. I was picking up like a thrash metal vibe here and there in a few of the riffs. I was like, that would be like if Metallica existed in the 70s. This would be what they sounded like, you know. So I thought it was great. It was really, really good and easy to get into as well. If you put it on, you can just listen to this one. How many tracks is it? It's not that many tracks, or it doesn't run. It's not the long time. The runtime isn't that long.
It's like 7 tracks. But you
can just listen to it over and over again. It's really good. But over those 7 tracks, like they mix it up so much. Well, not like too much, so it gets like what the fuck you're doing. But it's like they've got a couple of slow parts, some fast parts, mid parts, and they mix it up quite well. They're not just like all fast for 3 tracks and then all slow for 4 tracks. There's a good mix of everything going on, and I really think it's really interesting to listen to and really easy to just put on, have in the background, or really even just get into it as well.
Yeah.
So I really thought it was a really good album, and I really, really hope they carry on recording live and not fucking with their production. And I hope they tour and then come around this part of the world, because I would love to go see them live. I think that'll be a massive amount of fun. So, yeah, great. Good stuff.
Nice one. Okay, so ratings for the new Deathchant album. This is a highly enjoyable album. As I said, it's not just 30 minutes of the same thing. You know, they like to change things up in terms of the tempos, the pace, even the kind of the tone of the album as well gets a little darker at times, but then they've got those hooky melodies. They know what they want to do. They know how they want to sound. You know what I mean? It's a kind of, as you said, a kind of mix of old and new, and I think they've done it really well on here. For me, this is a good 4 out of 5 album. I can see myself going back to this throughout the year. It's a fun album to stick on, and one that's really easy to listen to. Duncan?
Reunited and it feels so good. 4 for this band. Check it out. Honestly, I challenge any self-respecting fan of rock, metal to sit down and not enjoy this album. I think it's impossible not to enjoy this album. So 4.
Nice. And Kyle?
I'm going to join you two on a 4 out of 5. It's really good. I will also offer that challenge. You can't do it. You can't not like it.
Awesome. Well, this one drops on June 25th on RisingEasy Records. See, said it that time. I will put links below to the band's socials and any pre-orders and stuff for the album, so you can check it out. Let us know what you think. If you've heard any of the singles or once you've heard the album, drop some comments in below. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is the review. Thanks for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.